Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Vlad Butenko from BCG, and I'm responsible for BCG's Global Cities business. And today, I have the pleasure to introduce you to our recent research that is called The Rise of the Metacity. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to start with a question. Why is Riyadh of this diameter of 25 to 30 kilometers? Why is that? Why isn't Riyadh bigger or smaller? The answer to this question is very simple. City size has historically been determined by transportation technology. If you look at this slide, you see the small near circles. This is Rome and Paris a long time ago, and people would walk inside the city. And because people don't want to walk over 1 hour, you do 5 kilometers in 1 hour. This is why cities like Paris and Rome historically had the diameter of 5 kilometers. And then you see London and Chicago with the appearance of new transportation technologies, better than the transportation technology of our feet and legs, streetcar and subway. And you see that immediately the city size, or we call it the catchment area, has become bigger. And then you see Atlanta. Atlanta is a car-centric city. Atlanta has been built around the car and for the cars, and you see how big Atlanta has become. So city size has historically been determined by transportation. Today, two new technologies appearing. One is high-speed rail. This is Japan. Tokyo, Nagoya, Maglev will cover 350 kilometers with 5 stops in under 40 minutes. Expected completion in 3 years from now. And that is Japan on the transportation side. But Starflyer Airlines attracting Tokyo remote working to the south of Japan, offering them a subscription model. So an airline offers a subscription model to the passenger that includes an apartment and unlimited flights. Why? Because they would like to have a full offering of remote working. So new technologies, high-speed rail innovation continue to reduce travel time. Telework actually reduced the travel to zero. So you can think about this as the virtual presence that reduced the travel time to zero. What we see today, and this is actual data, people living within 2 hours by public transport of the city center of London, door to door, by 9 a.m. on a weekday. So it's very precise, BCG analysis. And you could see, kind of half of the England is covered by this. At the local level, city catchment area expands outwards, reaching 200 kilometers to 400 kilometers from city centers. Allow me to share a personal example. I have colleagues within BCG in France. They do city analytics, and this small group of people lives in Nantes. Nantes is located 365 kilometers away from Paris, and these people live there with their families. Now, they come to Paris every week for a meeting, and when they come, they use Ouigo. Ouigo is a low coaster on the TGV rail. They only pay 15 euros to come, and 1 hour 50 minutes, 1 hour 50 minutes to come. So you can see that this model works across different countries already. Another example that I wanted to share, also personal. I know a businessman. This businessman lives in Beirut. He spends time with family there. He is engaged in local community. His children are in Beirut. The primary healthcare is in Beirut, but this businessman works mostly in Riyadh. And the reason why this businessman works mostly in Riyadh is that Riyadh is more interesting than Beirut from the economic perspective, right? It's bigger projects, we're discussing them today. It's a better price point for his services. It's enormous networking, intellectual capital development in Riyadh. At the same time, his company is registered in Dubai. Why is that? Well, because in Dubai, he believes that it's better brand so far, unfortunately, maybe to Riyadh, where we are today, better salary and benefits management, better work permits, easier residency application. And so my question here, ladies and gentlemen, is this person, what city does this businessman belong to? Is this Riyadh where he works? Is this Beirut where his family is? Or is it Dubai where all the administration is done? So we believe in the new strategic paradigm that is confirmed by BCG analysis, a new strategic paradigm emerges, a better way of looking at the cities as connected systems rather than discrete units within what we call urban growth boundary. Modern cities exist within networks of urban areas which are connected, both physically and virtually, sharing economic and social functions. We call this the metacity. Metacity is a fractal phenomenon, so it exists at the local level, as I have described with London and Paris, at the regional level with this businessman, at the global level. Here you see our ranking, BCG ranking of global metacities. Now, it is not the ranking of city size or livability. The ranking is the following. It's the ranking of talent flows between the cities, and we take the cities with most talent flows. What we call talent flow is where a person has lived and worked over the last years in both cities, then both cities are recorded, and we count this carefully, and we see the ranking of cities, and you see some surprises. Of course, without surprise, the global superstar hubs for talent movement, right, not just for the amount of people, is London and New York. But at the same time, you have other cities that are also global talent hubs, a little bit the next category. It is Dubai, it is Bangalore, it is Dublin, it is Paris, it is Singapore, Los Angeles, and Berlin. And there are also significant hubs like Chicago, Toronto, Barcelona, Seattle, San Francisco, etc. The learning here is to become the big meta-city hub. You don't need to be the biggest city or the most livable city. Actually, Bangalore is not the most livable city in the world, but it is, according to this calculation, precise calculation of what is happening, it is one of the global meta-cities. We estimate that the meta-city will become the main structure of agglomeration in the future, with the following characteristics. It is a distributed, non-adjacent zone of influence. The virtual world is dominant, but it's not only virtual. Physical connectivity is very important. It's about airport, high-speed rail, eVTOLs, which are drones, autonomous electric vehicles, flatter density of distribution of population, networked knowledge economy. Very importantly, meta-cities are big. Therefore, the internal markets are important. So many things are going to happen inside the meta-city, not just the trade between the global hubs, and the exponential growth in sites. We see that each meta-city should reach 3 to 5 trillion US GDP by 2050. Think about several GDPs of the kingdom, and 100 million to 200 million inhabitants per meta-city by 2050. It is our understanding that China, for instance, is building specifically 10 meta-cities, each of the size of 100 plus million inhabitants, connecting them virtually, connecting them with a common story. And the meta-city will emerge in 3 phases. First phase that we see today, migration of meta-city pioneers. That's my example of my colleagues working in Paris but living in Nantes. Once there is sufficient critical mass established there, the transportation companies follow. They see, we have big demand between Paris and Nantes. Let us improve the offering, let us improve the infrastructure. Once the transportation is there, once there is a critical size of pioneers, the service people are going to follow. And actually this is good because this recreates life in the remote towns. Because now in the remote towns you have people who are well off, but you also have service people, you have good communities, and everyone seems to be happy here. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for the leaders that manage cities? 4 learnings. 1, cities are only as good as their networks, and they place within them. So think about how the city you live in, the city that you build something in terms of real estate, the city where your children live, what is the network the city belongs? Does the city take the central place in this network? Effective transport network matter more than ever. This is controversial because you could say, with this remote working, we don't need that much transportation. Actually, you need better transportation. You need better transportation because people would like still to oscillate between where they live and the supercenter. Supercenters need less traditional office space, so we don't see a lot of B-class, C-class real estate in the big cities. We see more premium real estate in the big cities. We see flexible spaces for interaction. We see spaces where people can be really impressed and develop loyalty for the company with this office. And people will move where the quality of life is best. Cities and companies cannot longer buy them. It used to be, I work for a company, I don't move out of the company, I don't move out of the city. You cannot buy them anymore. People will choose, in my example with Nantes, well, for the price of a Paris 2-bedroom apartment, they move the extended family to Nantes in a house, same price. Why would they live in Paris? And this is my last slide that we're going to discuss. We're going to use this for our exciting discussion in the panel. In the center, you see the actual supercenter as a space to connect. So we're going to discuss what the center, the capital city, the big city needs to do. Then you have the towns, right? The towns that all connected virtually and physically to the supercenter. You have the suburbs, and then you have the infrastructure in between. For those of you, after this discussion, who would like to have more understanding of the Meta City, to learn on this up-and-coming topic, see our latest publication. One is Harvard Business Review of December, The Rise of the Meta City, and the other one is Harvard Business Review in a book, This Year in Tech 2024. Thank you so much for your attention, and now let us move to the discussion. Thank you.